Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Stephen Holliday. I'm the chair of the Service Excellence Committee. The clerk has advised me that we have quorum, so I'd like to now call our meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at City Hall in Committee Room 2. The meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, and there is a speaker, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order that they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Service Excellence Committee page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the City Clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the Clerk's meeting portal. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at svexc@toronto.ca for help with motions. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, we will proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on February 28, 2025? Councillor Ainsley moves. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And now we'll go through our agenda items. Members, there are 3 agenda items. Our first item is SE 8.1, Citywide Service Promise Refresh Implementation. I have some questions on that, so I'll suggest that we hold it. Our second item is SE 8.2, which is the Service Excellence Committee Decisions in Progress. We have a speaker. I'm going to suggest, well, we have to hold that. I'm going to suggest we order that first because of the speaker. And third, there's SE 8.3, which is Transportation Services, Salesforce, and Maximo integration. And there is a presentation, so that will be held. Members, we will go back up to the top of the list, and we'll begin with item SE 8.2, which is the Service Excellence Committee Decisions in Progress. Our first speaker is Ingrid Boudet. Is Ingrid here or online? Great. Ingrid's online. Good morning, Ingrid. It's Stephen Holliday. Welcome to the Service Excellence Committee. Welcome back. You have 5 minutes. Please begin.
I'd like to share my screen. Let me just make sure I have.
Acknowledging control. Do we have we provided access for screen sharing to the speaker? Just stand by, please.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, one moment, please. I'm sorry about this. Share. And it's going to pop over to another window. My apologies, share. I'm going to have to share it in this format. It seems to be popping over to another screen. So
we see it.
I think everybody can see my screen?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, Chair Holliday, councillors, thank you much for and city staff. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my thoughts here on SE 8.2 Service Excellence Committee Decisions in Progress. We've been through this a few times now. So, my name is Ingrid Boudet, and I'm founder of No More Noise Toronto. And we've been engaged in the civic process at City Hall. Many of you know us, and our approach has led to collaborative discussions with 4 city divisions. And we also are happy to collaborate with other like-minded organizations. The favorite collaboration, I must say, is with Municipal Licensing and Standards and the Noise team. They are fabulous, and a year ago, we actually did a presentation on the updated noise bylaws. And Carlton Grant offered some opening remarks. He said that Municipal Licensing and Standards enforces over 30 different bylaws. Noise is one of the top 5 complaints. It's 10% of their workload, and it's the most complex and challenging. And I understand that Carlton is stepping down in October. I do wish him all the best, and I thank him very much for his collaboration and service. So it also makes the top 10 service requests in 311. And so that is amplified sound or instrument sound. So that is keen, I'm sure, to Councillor Ainsley as the night economy champion. So the exposure for noise, over 1.2 million people live within 100 meters of an arterial road, according to the 2021 census and a buffer analysis. They experience 142 noise spikes daily. And so when we have a severe weather alert like we do today, if they don't have air conditioning, those people have no choice between between heat and noise exposure. As well, with these transit-oriented communities and density, we are creating noise canyons where street-level noise bounces all the way up to the very top levels. And in the Listening to Toronto survey, which is another one of the agenda items here today, it says that 64% of Torontonians rate the quality of life good or very good, but 50% feel that the quality of life in Toronto in the past 12 months has worsened. So when we think about quality of life, we think about air, we think about sleep, we think about our ambience and our world around us, our soundscape. And so to me, it's interesting that the top quadrant of people that have actually said that the quality of life has gone down are high income earners. So to me, that indicates that actually noise is starting to permeate through into the leafy and the more wealthier areas of Toronto. And so in addition to that, you also have these major transit station areas. Noise is only going to get worse unless we manage it better. So, excuse me, kudos to the city because they actually did an Esri story map on our plan, which was where this example came from. So if we don't manage noise, what are those physical health outcomes? Well, according to Toronto Public Health, that Healthy Aging survey, noise contributes to the top chronic conditions, top cause of hospitalization, and the top leading causes of death. So this is where we really need to, if Toronto wants to be a great city with good quality of life, you need to manage that. There's also health outcomes. And so this is where the mental health, if you don't have good quality of life, you're probably annoyed. You might be depressed. You might have all of these other issues. So it needs to be managed. A year ago, we talked about the service workflow request for moving vehicles. This hasn't been fixed. I've since done another workflow for amplified sound, and time is across the page. The beat keeps going while enforcement comes and goes, and 2 officers have to visit people's homes. It is very intrusive, and the outcome is also unknown. We don't necessarily know what happens when amplified sound has been when officers have come to people's homes. So finally, noise just needs to be managed better. And this is where you need to create better reporting process. You needed to create service level standards for noise. But one of the most important things is create a strategic framework for reducing noise across divisions. I used to work in HR, and I know that when a top position is vacated, that is an opportunity to rethink a role. And so this is where I would encourage the city to rethink how they manage noise. And maybe it still stays under municipal licensing and standards, but it's a whole separate, it's a division that goes across, it's a task force that goes across divisions. I know I'm not explaining myself well because I've just been thinking about this, but I really think the city can be a great city if it manages noise. Also, create a map of noise exemption permits. So thanks to Councillor Ainsley on the Night Economy External Working Group, they created an example of temporary liquor licenses. That gives people information. That's what they want. And so a map of noise exemption permits would also really help. Reduce the need to report through monitoring, through area sound level monitoring, and also improve enforcement. And so just to wrap up here, Councillor Ainsley, you know the night economy is coming to the suburbs. And so this is where we need to manage amplified sound. Councillor Fletcher, we've talked about motor vehicle noise. You've got construction, you've got metro links. That needs to be managed better. And Councillor Holiday and Chrysanthi, the airport is right by you. Drones are coming. We need to manage noise before it gets out of control.
Thank you, Ingrid.
With that, I will say let's create a better Toronto by reducing noise. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Councillor Fletcher, go ahead.
Yes, I'm wondering if you could just send that, Ingrid, so we can all have a copy of your presentation,
Absolutely.
please.
Happy to do that. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll ask one really quick one. On one of the slides, there's 3 levels.
Okay. Let me go back.
There's a question mark. It's a chart. There's a question mark above it. So it goes to 311, and then it says there's 3 levels.
Pardon me here.
It's on your flow chart.
It's on my flow chart. Let me find that PowerPoint again here. There we are. This one?
Yes. See the one that says 3 priority levels? Could you just tell me where those came, like the 3 priorities levels?
Yeah, so when municipal, when a call comes into 311 and it goes to the noise team,
Yep.
they triage according to 3 priority levels, and that is how many people it impacts, what is how frequent is it, and then there's another level in there as well.
Great.
So that's how they triage the noise complaints.
Thank you, Ingrid. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing none, questions of staff. Councillor Ainsley, I'll pass you the chair while I ask a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Holiday.
Thank you. If I can find it. So the Listening to Toronto survey is covered in here. And I guess my question is, does the Listening to Toronto survey results, and more broadly the information that comes out of the 311 system about calls, does that find its way into the city's budget-making process?
Through the chair, yes. So as part of the feedback we receive as part of both of those surveys, we'll be ensuring that it's incorporated into the budget that we'll be submitting to council through the mayor.
So every year a budget presentation is done, lots of slides, lots and lots of really interesting information. Would it be possible for staff to consider at least a slide that talks about the inputs from the city, which is, you know, like the survey results and the kind of things that people call us about? Would that be possible to at least consider including that side of the equation?
Through the chair, yes, that's something we can take back in discussion with our CFO.
Okay, great. That's all I was going to ask about this particular report. Are there any other questions? Nope, seeing none. Members wishing to speak? Okay. Councillor Ainsley moves receipt on the item. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. We'll go back to item number 1. I had held that for questions as well. Is there any other members wishing to ask questions about the first one, which is the service promise? Not on number 1. Number 3. Okay, so I'll ask my questions. I'll pass the chair, Councillor Ainsley. I just wondered if staff could talk to us a little bit about the uptake of the service promise so far, and if it has been positively received or not among staff and among management team.
Good morning, Chair. So generally speaking, I would say that it has been. As we rolled out the service promise, we had representation across all 40 divisions. We did meet with senior leadership at the divisional level. We have been sending out reminders. The division themselves have been sending out reminders. We've seen additional reminders in corporate communications. So there has been ongoing comms in terms of driving the service promise itself.
And can you tell me what the action is or the linkage between the senior management team and how they oversee the rollout of the service promise across the divisions?
So as we worked to roll the service promise out, we did work with all of the divisional leads so that they provided feedback to the leadership in terms of how to communicate with their respective teams. Again, things like reminders, regular reminders about having their signatures in their email, setting their out of office when they're out of the office for both email and their phone. So those communications are done at the divisional level.
And finally, how does the senior management team or the managers across the city ensure that there's adherence to this policy?
So, Chair, this is something that we do ask the divisional leads to do, again, through those reminders, performance reviews with their staff on an ongoing basis, and again, reinforcing messages that are also sent through corporate communications.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Are there any further questions on this item? Seeing none. Members, there's a motion just coming. It's going to take a moment, so I'm going to recommend we just set this item down for a sec, and then we'll go to our third item, which is a presentation.
And by the way, Chair, I'm sorry, when you had some questions this morning, I did have some questions. If we're coming back to it, it can wait till then. We can move to the next item if you like.
Oh, Councillor Crisandi, if you want to ask questions about the service promise, this would be a good time.
Oh, all right, thank you. No, just on the point that was just raised, regarding, ensuring, the best customer service, and that when people are calling in, or even are calling in to certain staff members, they still don't always forward their message or indicate that if they're away, it still happens. And I understand that the digital managers, I think indicated digital managers are responsible to make sure that this is implemented. What follow-up, what more can we do to make sure that we take it up a notch and make sure that that level of service, basic level of service, we need to know if somebody's there. If they're away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that's good information to have right up front.
So I'll just paraphrase it, Councillor Crisandi, because the sound wasn't great, but you mentioned that not everyone puts their out of office notification on or their message update. And I think your question was, what is being done to ensure that that is being adhered to, that policy. So I wondered if somebody could respond from staff.
All right, you said it well. Thank you.
Chair, so again, we do work with the divisional leads, the people leaders. We did set out those guidelines, but we do rely on the people leaders at the individual divisions to reinforce this messaging with their teams. Again, we use corporate communications. We send out regular reminders, again, to set things like your email signature, your out of office, but it is really done at the individual divisional level.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And but again, I'm just suggesting that it's not consistently done still to this day. Maybe some additional reinforcement can be, can you again send out some additional reinforcement advising people of the importance of doing this?
Chair, yes, we can do that. We can work with our divisional partners and send out more frequent reminders if that's needed.
Yeah, I think in this case it happens consistently, at least from what I hear from my staff, from what I hear from some of my constituents, and certainly it's happened to me firsthand. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Crisandi. Members wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll speak very quickly. I'll pass the chair to the Vice Chair. Could the clerk display my motion? Members, it's a very simple motion that the Service Excellence Committee recommend the City Manager ensure that the service promise is reviewed with the City's senior leadership team at least biannually, and that the division heads spot check compliance within their areas of responsibility. And it's just further to Councillor Crisanti's point. I think it's great that we have the service promise, but I think that the senior management team or the senior leadership team just take an active role in ensuring that people comply with the service promise, because if it breaks down, then it doesn't work. And I thought we would just recommend the city manager do this twice a year, is have that conversation about keeping it fresh, and that the managers, excuse me, find a way to spot check the compliance within their areas. And I don't think we need to be too prescriptive on how that works, but we just recommend that that be done. With that, on the amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Mr. Clerk, I don't think we need item as amended. Correct. All right. Our last item is SE 8.3, and that is a presentation that is Transportation Services Salesforce and Maximo integration. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. A couple of months ago, we were talking a little bit about the integration between 311 and our new work management system, Maximo, and wanted to provide some examples because we were one of the larger divisions that's integrated Maximo into our regular work programs through operations and maintenance. And we have a number of examples, one we're going to walk through today, and expecting a good discussion about concerns, confusion. It's an opportunity really for us to try to continue to improve this work. So I'm Barbara Gray, I'm the General Manager of Transportation Services, and I'm joined by Mike Barnett, who's my Business Performance Director, and Vince Ferrazza, who is the Director of Operations and Maintenance. So we'll go to the next. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the background. I'm going to focus on the integration between these two systems, 311, which is powered by Salesforce, and our work management system through Maximo. And we're going to give an example around sidewalk repair, and then talk a little bit about what's upcoming to further refine and enhance this program through a program we're calling Closing the Loop, which is work that we're doing directly with our colleagues at 311. So in 2024, just to give a scale, we received over 94,000 311 service requests generated by Salesforce and directed to work management. That's significant volume. I don't think I need to share. We're one of the most frequent users of 311 service requests. And we have been doing a lot of very specific work with the Customer Experience Division 311 to not only identify some of these key issues, but also get under the hood on things like problem codes that may cause confusion or may get sent to the wrong organization, looking at the system issues between our platforms that are creating problems not only for the staff, but confusion for the customers and the public, and then where we believe that improvements, refinements, and better training can lead to better service outcomes. And so through this work, one of the things we've learned is there really is continued opportunity for improvement, and also to improve the information that our on-the-ground staff provide to 311 in relation to the level of detail, the work status, and the outcomes of the work performed in the field. Our hope is that through this improved information exchange, the public can be better informed of our progress and the expected outcomes of our work activity, and through the Closing the Loop process that we're going to be completing and launching next year, that there will be a much more direct feedback loop to the person who's making the 311 service request at the outset. So for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to walk through some sidewalk service requests. And on the screen here are the 5 different codes that are related to sidewalk damage. Damaged concrete, damaged brick or paver, accessible ramp and tactile paver, water ponding, or a walkway that's damaged or uneven. We try to get as close to the issue, the source of the issue, as we can through the 311 service code, and that helps us to better direct the response to the right team to deliver. So here are some of the numbers of service requests since the adoption of Maximo in 2022. For sidewalk service requests, we've received almost 9,000 of them. In addition to SRs, we also do proactive inspections and repairs, approximately 1,300 locations. And as you can see from the data, the majority of our requests are related to instances where the sidewalk cracks or is uneven due to freeze and thaw, so similar to a pothole but on the sidewalk. And that can be related to what's happening under the ground or the surface material. We also do an annual sidewalk and multi-use path inspection every year, that's why it's annual, proactively with our staff to identify issues that may require interim or permanent repairs. So the only thing, I just want to say, we rely on 311 for people to provide us that feedback. We also do proactive patrols through our sidewalk inspection teams. So here's sort of the life of that 311 service request example. This is a simple one, but 311 will receive a call for service, and that will create a service request in Salesforce. Then Salesforce we will create a work order in the Maximo work management system for investigation and temporary repairs. So what you're seeing in the picture is not a permanent repair, it's a temporary fix that should happen in a short amount of time after the work order is received, and then that work order is marked completed. So that's closed in Maximo, and the 311 service requests for the investigation and the temporary repairs are completed. So what happens next is it leads to a situation where transportation will create a subsequent work order, a child, the parent being the investigation and temporary repair, and now the secondary but related is the permanent repair that is required in order to meet the expectation of a safe and level sidewalk. So what you're seeing here is you see the permanent, in interim repairs, the work order for permanent repair is created. That can result in grinding in the top example where you're making it level, or a full repair of the sidewalk to fix the deficiencies, which we would call a reconstruction. And then once that is completed, the work order for permanent repairs are closed and the permanent repairs are marked complete. So I think one of the issues that has been challenging that we continue to work through is the difference between when a work order is closed and when a work order is completed. It will help quite significantly when we have the ability to send information directly back to the customer about the status of their work order and the picture in the field that shows the completed either the temporary or the completed repair, so that the customer who has called 311 has a good indication of the work and its status. So as you know, as I mentioned, this Closing the Loop project is underway. We've been working very closely with 311 to prepare for that. And as we work to implement some of the back-end system changes that are required, we've also been working on some of the practical tasks that are necessary to make this successful, including implementing a Maximo mobile app that will now allow our field staff to enter information directly into the system while on site without needing their computer, increasing access to mobile devices such as cell phones and tablets for field staff so that they are able to take and upload photos of repairs directly into Maximo. One of the things we see quite frequently is the nature of the comments that staff make in the field don't necessarily have enough information in them to satisfy the customer about what has actually happened here. And so having those the field technology tools so that the staff can actually put that information in there, upload a photo, is going to make it a lot easier for that information to be shared. And then also developing some standardized scripts for common repairs, ensuring consistent data entry into Maximo and linking the work back to the original service request. And then also consolidating service requests and updating timelines to improve clarity and response efficiency. So where we are right now is that our teams have completed their analysis of the systems changes that are required for both Maximo and Salesforce. We've translated those into scopes for our vendor, who's has already started work on that, or is starting on a little bit later this year, and that's scheduled to be completed in 2026. And as we work towards implementing this solution, our goal is to provide better information in a more timely manner. And the hope is that it gets to the point where the actions taken by our staff will better align with the information available to 311 staff, and that they can provide an accurate picture of the updated conditions at the site. Our hope is that when Closing the Loop is completed, that it will be less back and forth between the member of the public and 311, because that information will get sent back to the member of the public automatically as part of the tracking of their 311 request. And of course, we have to continue to train our staff in what makes a substantial response in the field, and continue to test and manage that, as well as continue our work with 311 as we move forward here. So that's our brief overview and example. We're happy to, of course, take questions.
Questions of the team? Councillor Ainsley.
So I'm a little confused why you have, so there's you have two systems. So there's 311 and you have Maximo. And so from my perspective, like my constituency staff often complain that, so I'll go out and I'll find a pothole, for example, I'll see a pothole. I'll send a picture of the pothole in through 311. I use my constituency office email, so the work order request goes to them and they know what the SRO number is. And then, a month later, I'll be out somewhere doing something in my ward, the pothole's got orange paint around it or doesn't have anything around it, and I'll call my constituency staff. They look up the SRO number, they contact your staff. There's a Maximo number that has to be converted from the SRO number. so they can figure out what the issue is, and then finally they get back to my staff with an update. And I don't understand why you have two parallel processes.
Thank you, Councillor. So
And I also, sorry, and just
Yeah.
to piggyback onto that, I don't understand the part about, so you have another app you're developing that your staff are going to take a picture of the issue, and either myself or a resident's already taken a picture of the issue and sent it in to 311. So I don't understand the duplication.
So let's take that one at a time. Thank you, Councillor, to the chair. So 311 has a, Salesforce is the system that drives 311. We used to have Motorola CRM, the customer response management system. And then Maximo is a work management system. So that's the system that will generate a work order for our staff to go out and do the work. So it is confusing, and that's one of the reasons why we're embarking on this work, to make it seamless.
Sorry, I don't think it's confusing. I think it's making the process longer.
It shouldn't make the process longer if the connections are working properly. So Salesforce is not a work management system, so it doesn't directly generate those work orders, and Maximo has a lot more functionality that's very important for the teams who are delivering that final result. The problem that we're having and why we're focused on this work is because, as you describe it, it is clunky and it's not providing feedback directly back to the people who have put in the response, whether it's you or your constituency staff or a member of the public. On the timelines, and we've talked a little bit about the service expectations or timelines for things like potholes, where if it's on a local road, I believe it's up to 30 days or 25? 21 days. So nonetheless, the status of that, in our perfect world, the status of that would be updated automatically with the person who puts in the 311 service request, so you don't have to go back and worry about numbers between Maximo and Salesforce and what time you put that request in, but that would just come back to you in a direct email to the tracking number, and you would just have a status update. So if there was an interim repair situation, you'd get a status update about an interim repair, and you would also get the notice that transportation had created a secondary service request for the permanent repairs.
So how do
Is that
you...
helping or hurting what I just said in terms of confusion?
Well, so Barbara, I'll give you an example. So there's a street in my ward, Baldock Street. So there was a pothole. The roadway was sunken in front of a catch basin or a sewer. So I sent it into 311, got an SRO number. 2 weeks later, I was driving down that street, and I was stopped by a resident, like, "Councillor, why is the pothole still there in front of the catch basin?" I said, "I don't know, I have an SRO number." So I sent it to my staff. They looked it up, or tried to look it up through 311. They came back with, there's nothing in Maximo, even though I had an SRO number. So I was told to resubmit it, which I did again. And finally, 2 days later, an orange cone went on the pothole, the sunken area. And then finally, a week later, some work was done. But I also, and that's not the first time that's happened, where I sent something into 311, and at Maximo, it just disappears. And right? For me as a city councilor, it's very frustrating, because I'll sit there, I've done it with residents, I've stood there and used the app on the phone, which I'm very happy with, get the SRO number, I show it to them, and then to have to go back and do it again is very frustrating.
You shouldn't have to go back and do it again.
And I don't know how, for me, it happens, I'm not going to say often, but more often than I think it should be. And, and then when I go to my staff, they're always grinding their teeth about, they can't just look up an SRO number. If it's with transportation, they have to call somebody to get the translated Maximo number to find out what's going on.
I think...
And if I'm a resident, I don't have,
right.
If I'm just Paul Ainsley resident and I look up an SRO number, all it says is, 5 days, whatever the completed is. I have no ability to call your staff and say, can I have the Maximo number? We'd like to know what's going on with this pothole.
But Chair, you shouldn't have, I mean, what you described, Councillor, is just the reason why we're working through this process of trying to fix these pieces, because they need better integration and closer integration. You or your constituency staff, the public, should not have to worry about whose number is what, and you should just have one tracking number, and it should come back to you with status of that.
That's not what's...
It is not. That's why we're here today, because we are continuing to work on we've made some progress in terms of the first part of this process, but it is certainly not done. And the Salesforce Maximo integration that will help to eliminate the pieces that you just described will be implemented in the beginning of next year. So we're close, but we're definitely a work.
When's it going to be fully integrated?
2026. I'm hoping by the end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter.
Time check on the questions.
Okay.
Do you need more time?
I have a few more questions.
Yeah. So let's,
Councillor
we'll
Fletcher.
do a round and
We'll
Councillor Fletcher.
come back to me. Maybe my colleagues will ask my questions.
I just want to be clear who's doing this work. It seems like transportation is doing this, or is the 311 doing it?
311 is doing this work on the closing the loop. Transportation is sort of the first division that is working through examples to address these. You know, so we're the first people up, I would say.
Who's designing this system?
Do you want to?
Chair, so we are working with our partners in technology services.
Sorry, can't hear you.
We are working with our partners in technology services, so it's jointly between customer experience with transportation as well as technology services.
Just tell me exactly, because there's a lot of people here. Customer experience,
Customer experience,
technology services,
correct, and then transportation services, as Barbara said, is our first.
well, they're generally your client.
Yes, we're the
So
client.
it's not really their system, it's your system, they're your client. Is that, do I have that right?
That's correct.
That is correct, but as Barbara mentioned, there are two different systems. So there is the platform that is used by 311, and it is the integration with the platform being used by transportation services.
But just to clarify through you, Mr. Chair, so the responsibility for the implementation of the customer experience with enabling technology and closing the loop is led by the customer experience division.
And I would just add that there is work being done in both systems. So it's within the Salesforce platform that these changes are being made, but it's also being changed in Maximo. And that's what's going to allow the integration to work fully, is that we need changes in Maximo and we need changes in Salesforce. And that's why we're all working together on making this implementation.
Yeah, so, but the lead, I want to be clear.
Customer experience division.
The lead is, it's corporate services, yes or no?
Yes.
It's corporate services. Transportation is your first client using Maximo, and there should be other clients that would come on if this is successful.
Yes, that is correct. In fact, we are working to advance the work simultaneously across multiple divisions.
So I guess I'm having trouble. It's great for transportation to tell us how it's being used, but I'll speak about that, because there has to be somebody that's in charge, not two divisions in charge. So I also just want to generally ask what 311 services in other large cities have done, more mature than ours, but ours is obviously, I don't know how often they've been refreshed. I don't know how we can find anything out about them to find out if our performance standards are the same as yours, or if they're better or worse, or if they made other changes. Who knows that?
So, Chair, as part of the performance standards work, we are doing jurisdictional scans to understand how we compare with other jurisdictions, and that research will be used to inform some of the work that we do moving forward.
So that wasn't undertaken between now and when we set that up. When was this first set up? It was somewhere like 2000 and 9, 8, under David Miller. You remember that? You remember that. Correct? What year was 311 set up?
2009.
2009. So that's now 16 years. How many times has it been refreshed or reviewed for upgrades of this kind?
So, Chair, the last major refresh was done in 2018, then again in 2021 with the implementation of Salesforce. And since then, we have been making ongoing improvements. We have the parks integration coming up later this year.
So just for other, so that would have been 9 years. And other cities, obviously, you've started that review. How often do they refresh? Is their Parks Department on there? Do they use the same software? What do they do for transportation services in those cities that have a more mature 311 for their success rate?
So, Chair, we probably need to take that away to come back with a more wholesome answer for you.
Another round? No, okay. Councillor Crisanti, did you have questions? No.
Thumb is up.
Yes. I'm going to ask some if you don't. Okay.
I do.
No,
Sorry,
he does
I
have questions. His thumb is up.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
I keep muted, so what's this way? So thank you. Just one question already. So from what I understand in the presentation, there were 9,000 sidewalk service requests. And then the first step that's taken after that is the, as indicated in the presentation, a temporary fix. That was on slide 7. And after the temporary fix, there is, then you create a work order for a permanent repair. Can we talk a little bit about the timeline from the temporary fix to the permanent repair? And of the 9,000 sidewalk requests, I believe this is year to date, where are we at now in terms of getting that number down?
Through the chair, we would have to come back to this committee and give you that number or give it directly to the councillor, but we can certainly do that for him.
Sorry, the number as to the current status of how many remaining sidewalk repairs are left?
Correct. We will be able to provide you of those SRs that have been created. We will be able to tell the councillor how many have been completed, both temporary, permanent, and how many are outstanding.
Okay, I'm trying to determine how quickly we're getting these things not only repaired, but then permanently fixed. What is the timeline from the point that it's temporarily fixed to a permanent repair?
Thank you, Councillor. To the chair. I believe that the sidewalk, like the reconstruction timeline for sidewalks is 4 years, right? So, and we're not entirely satisfied with that service request. What we do try to do is not redo work. So we do try to integrate work and bundle work. So often if we find a lot of discontinuities or there's issues that require reconstruction, we'll try to move it to our Missing Link sidewalk program and do more than that one panel. We try to do it as quickly as we can to initiate the permanent repair. In some cases, it can just be a bay of sidewalk, and it is done within the year. And if it's a grinding issue, it's usually done within the year.
Yes.
Yeah, but generally, Barbara, I think you just said it's about a 4-year.
The service request is up to 4 years.
Can you just lean into the mic, Councillor? I'm sorry. We're having a hard time hearing you.
I'm leaning in. So it's up to 4 years. So my question then would be, Barbara, what do we need to do to tighten that timeline? 4 years is a long time to see a sidewalk asphalted, and then the asphalt doesn't hold up to some of the winters, and then we're going back doing further temporary repairs, which we've got to those so forth. So tightening up that timeline is critical. I gather it's going to be a budgetary issue, but it's also resources. Can you tell me if you're working on, Barbara, what we could do to tighten it from 4 to maybe 2 years, half the time?
Through the chair, the councillor's request is something actually that we have already started to endeavor. So for instance, we have purchased now more equipment such as grinders for our in-house staff to now complete the work that used to be contracted out. We now bring that in-house. And we're now starting to do some of the smaller bay work in-house. So in the last year, we have started to accelerate the permanent repair by purchasing more equipment and bringing some of the work in-house to do the smaller work as opposed to contracted out. And as Barbara also mentioned, we're doing a better job of coordinating with capital projects to do the work. So we have started, we appreciate that. And that's something that we're also looking at through our annual inspection program that we now do. That's helping us identify the deficiencies that are a higher priority, that we can get to them sooner, not have to wait 2-4 years.
Okay, can you just define what you mean by smaller bay? 2 bays, 4 bays? What defines smaller?
Normally, when doing a bay reconstruction, it's not a single bay, but you usually have to do as many as 3. So that is the reference point that we're using, approximately 3 to 4 bays. The smaller work, we're bringing that work in-house.
Councillor, the picture,
in-house
the example in the deck is actually a good example of a few bays of sidewalk repair.
Oh, okay, and that turnaround time will be far better than 4 years.
Yes, that is the objective.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I'll just put my timer on. People call citizens call the 311 system for, correct me if I'm wrong, for 3 major reasons. The first would be to ask for information, so they resolve that on the spot. The second would be to ask for something, for instance, a sidewalk repair. And the third would be for an update on where that previous ask was. I think I've covered the large 3. People call for lots of things, but those are the top. Yes, okay. So the relationship of 311 and its system, which is the customer relationship system, would be one citizen to many requests. Like 311 organizes itself around the citizen, is that correct?
Chair, that's correct.
Okay, so I have a profile in the system, and 311 could look me up and say, this is all the things that Stephen Holiday called about over the last couple of years, and then we could see the status of those things. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the many are the service requests. Is there a one-to-one relationship between the many and the tickets in the Maximo system? Does anyone know?
We'd probably have to get back to you, but a service request does generate, as an example, a work order in Maximo. It may generate more than one work order. So it depends on the situation and the service request.
Okay. But so what I'm getting at is I call for a sidewalk to be fixed. Who flips the switch to start the work order? Is that the 311 agent or is that somebody in transportation?
I believe it's in transportation. So the minute the service request is taken in by 311,
yes,
it is transferred over to the division. So in the case of transportation, it gets transitioned over to Maximo automatically, and then it would be up to transportation to pick up that work order and assign it.
So back to Councillor Haynes' example, we don't know what exactly happened. That's not fair. But just generally speaking, if I make a service request and it's dutifully transferred over to the division, assuming the call taker and I got it right, is there a way that somebody then does not create a Maximo work order? Somehow it fails. Is there a flaw somewhere in all of that?
To you, Chair. I think one of the things that we found in working with 311 and technology services over the last couple of years is that sometimes that gap can be the result of an inaccurate problem code or a not well-defined problem code or a problem code that might go to a different division erroneously. So sometimes you can have a problem that way. And so we've done a lot of work to go through all our problem codes and make sure that they are accurate. We've added some just so we could smooth it out. But it is the process should be pretty seamless in the back end. And I think what people have been experiencing over the last couple of years is some bumps because that integration has not been completed.
Okay. This is a general question, maybe a citywide one. How many city departments, or how many of the 311 requests that are for an action, how many of them then link to a secondary work order system like Maximo? Is there a percentage, or is there some way for us to understand how prevalent? Because it's not just about sidewalks, but a lot of things. Like I see solid waste, I see water. You all probably have subordinate work order systems with lots of people. So how big is this issue?
So, Chair, all of the service requests that are generated from 311 for our integrated service divisions, each of them link to a back-end system currently. Parks is about to come on board later this year.
And whether that system is carbon paper, I don't care, but they're all subordinate systems.
That is correct.
So who is checking to make sure that the tickets generated in 311 are being executed by the divisions on their subordinate work order systems? Anybody? Are the divisions doing it? Are central? Mr. DiGeronimo?
Yes. So
water?
So what I would say to you is that that's the very purpose of the integration that's being proposed, is so you have automatic feedback happening and getting you that information. That is not happening now, so it's all manual. So that's the frustration that you hear, from example, from Councillor Ainsley saying you have to follow up because it gets passed on to the other division. Just for clarity, right? Those other systems are not just work order systems. Those are asset management systems. So they're used to track all the work we do on the about $130 billion worth of assets the city owns between these four big divisions. And that's the primary purpose of those tools. And that's why we use them to store the information when we touch the asset. The Salesforce sits over top as a customer relationship management tool, which can feed in and store the information on our system and do the feedback. But that feedback integration has to be put in place, and it doesn't exist now.
Okay. Second round of questions? No? Councillor Crisanti, any second round? No? Okay, members wishing to speak? Seeing none, would anyone like to? Okay, I'll move receipt of the report. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just want to be clear.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I started earlier, and I appreciate the fact that this is being starting with transportation services and their program, but I want to very much know how other cities are doing this and refreshing. Tracking these big roads and parks are the most public of places to know what's happening and how well it's being done and the response times. But in general, I feel very strongly, I think everybody knows that there's not a number of leads, there's one. This is the customer experience. And I need to hear from that corporate manager that this system is now in place with as many parts to it to satisfy the needs of my residents. We're here representing our residents. We also would like to have things that make it easy to represent our residents. Nothing bothers them more than rabbit holes, and you're nodding at that, and nothing bothers us more than rabbit holes. So the sign-off on the system can't come from the client. The sign-off from the system has to come from the system owner, and that is my problem here today, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. I'll move receipt and I'll offer the following comments. I'm hoping that someone in the room can accept an undertaking because we don't have time to write a motion. But somebody will come back to the Service Excellence Committee with a further conversation about exactly what Councillor Fletcher brought up. It is the I would say that for a member of council, when we do things like customer service in our office, which is the bulk of our work, it is when these things come off track that is extremely frustrating. Somebody will often tell us, hey, I called this in and I heard nothing for a long time. And for some reason, and I heard it because I think there's a human interface in between right now, from the time someone makes a call, and maybe that customer relationship system works great, you can look up that they called. The link over to the action that they asked for came off track. I don't know if it's a service code or whatever it is. I think what I'm struggling with is that we're not checking that and reporting back on that accuracy. So I think members of council have identified a stress point, and I think we would like to hear more. That probably requires, I see a nod, so somebody will bring that back to us in the near future. We can, maybe I get, Mr. Clerk, I wondered if you could just type something out that just says that the Deputy City Manager will report to Service Excellence Committee on the development of the integration between the 311 customer relationship system and the work order management systems in city divisions. Maybe we can get that on the screen and I can get a nod from the members and the staff that that's workable. Perhaps by the end of Q3. Okay, members, I have an idea. We're going to set this item down for a second. I got to go back to SE 8.1 just to do a technical amendment. So a motion to reopen 8.1. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Members, the clerk asked me to do a very technical amendment. You will recall that I asked for to recommend the city manager ensure the service promise is reviewed under the senior leadership team at least biannually. The clerk has just simply said we need to change the wording to the Service Excellence Committee recommend that the Executive Committee. So that's just a technical change. I'll move that amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And on the item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, so that's fixed. And can we go back now to SE 8.3? So we'll go back to SE 8.3, which is the presentation from Transportation Services, Salesforce, and Maximo integration. And so we have a motion that will get up on the screen in just a sec. Sorry, folks, for those following, the clerk is just finishing typing this motion, and we'll be off in a moment. Okay, members, a little unorthodox, but we managed to squeak out a motion. I guess it would be a request that the Deputy City Manager of Corporate Services, if you can add that in. You're good? Okay. Deputy City Manager of Corporate Services will report back to the committee on the development of 311 Customer Integration System and Customer Relationship System and Work Order Management Systems. I think it would be the integration of the 311 Customer Relationship System. Do any members have new business? Sorry, Councillor Crisanti, just so you know, we're just finishing a motion here. We'll be off in a few seconds. Okay, so the new motion, thank you to everybody helping hands on this, that the Service Excellence Committee requests that the Deputy City Manager of Corporate Services report back to the Service Excellence Committee on the plan to integrate customer relationship management system and operational work order management systems, because we know there's more than one, and the history of the setup in 311 in 2009 by the end of Q3 2025. We have agreement among the colleagues here. All those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? That carries. And on the item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you to the clerks and good teamwork today.
Will that have a little bit of other cities, like Hamilton also rolled out 311 when we rolled ours out?
The deputy city manager says yes, he will take a look at other cities.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That was the last item of business. Therefore, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.